What does it mean to be a father? I think it just means being a great leader. Lead by example, running around in your everyday life as if you had a little video camera on you that your kids could watch even though you didn't know it, and making sure that everything that you do, even not knowing that they're watching, but they were watching, is something that they would be proud of and see.
What being a father means to me, it is the biggest responsibility I'll ever have, even above being a good husband, which is a very close 1A. But I truly believe that being a dad is the greatest responsibility that I will ever have, and the greatest job title I will ever have, and the biggest pleasure I will ever have. I love hanging out with my kids so damn much, and something that I am very much is I'm a very present dad.
The greatest responsibility in the world, and by far my favorite job in the world. If that's all I was tasked to do on this earth was be a father, I'd be totally content. They're obviously my biggest joy. I think for me, as a saved person, I feel like my number one job on this earth was to make sure my kids made that same decision.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Chad Savalka here. Thank you so much for joining Burn the Ships podcast, episode 4. There's no turning back now, baby. I'm here, as always, with two of the greatest guys on the face of the earth. Mr. Chris Royer, my business partner with Mile High Home Group Remax. Mr. Garrett Townsend, one of the greatest loan officers and greatest men I've ever met in my life. It's an honor to be here with you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. So, today's podcast, we're doing a little bit different than the first 3 episodes. Those episodes, we had a little mastermind beforehand, we had a game plan, and this time, we're kind of winging it, and I'm flying the plane, I guess. So, before we got together, we needed one other thing to do, and if you just watched it, we spent a lot of time talking about one of the best books out there, Atomic Habits. Took a little bit of prep time, so the second episode we were filming today was lacking a little bit. We didn't know what to do. So all 3 of us are very blessed men in the fact that we have healthy, beautiful children, and we are all fathers. And it is our greatest title we will ever have, and our greatest honor we will ever have is being dads. We take it very seriously, and from my point of view, you two are spectacular fathers, and I hope you think the same of me.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about fatherhood today, and what it means to you, what you want for your kids, that kind of thing. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The wing it. No notes.
I like it.
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions, but outside of that, this whole podcast was just supposed to be a conversation amongst friends, and that's essentially what it is, with a couple of questions to get it rolling.
All right.
So I'll open the floor with Mr. Royer. What does being a father mean to you?
Oh, man.
These are deep questions.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to be deep, and I wanted to get your genuine reaction to them.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he started with you.
The greatest responsibility in the world, and by far my favorite job in the world. If that's all I was tasked to do on this earth was be a father, I'd be totally content. They're obviously my biggest joy. And I think for me, as a saved person, I feel like my number one job on this earth was to make sure my kids made that same decision. Yeah. So if they're going to be good people, they're going to be amazing people. They're already on the track to that. But the fact that my 2 boys have already made that decision to follow
Are they both
Christ.
Baptized?
They're both saved. They're
of
both
their own
baptized.
Choice?
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is huge.
I mean, that was the best moment. I'll never forget that, when my oldest son, so about 6 months earlier, we told Julian what baptism meant. And he's kind of a shy kid. Like
he's a little bit
he
quieter.
does not want to be in front of people. He doesn't want to be the center of attention. And the idea of sitting or standing in front of an entire church of thousands of people and live on YouTube and all of that just scared him to death. And so we didn't push it too much. We told him what it meant. And we said, when you guys are ready to make that decision, we'll do it. And about 6 months later, he came back to us, and we were all in the bedroom. We were letting him have a sleepover on our floor. And he just came over to me like unprompted and said, Dad, I'm ready to get baptized.
That is a moment you will remember till your dying breath. That is awesome.
And I'll remember that forever. And then Colton, shortly after, like the same night, he's like, me too.
Yeah, doing a little bit of following Big
being
Brother's
a little
footstep.
brother, like we obviously asked him all the questions and made sure he knows what it really means, and he did. And so that was my number one favorite moment of being a father, and my whole purpose and reason for being a dad.
Yeah. Before we get too far, Chris, tell the people, you don't have to give your kids a name or anything. I mean, if you want to, feel free. But what are the ages of your kids and sexes?
I have two boys that are 11 and 8, and then Kendra and I just had a baby girl a little over 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we're
You're in it.
We're in it.
Yeah, big time.
GT,
big time.
Same question to you. What does being a father mean to you? But before you get started, tell the people about your kids.
Yeah, so I've got 3. I've got an 18-year-old Presley. I've got my 15-year-old Riley, and my little dude is 12 years old. His name's Bo. And great kids. You know, what does it mean to be a father? I think it just means being a great leader. Leading by example. Running around in your everyday life as if you had a little video camera on you that your kids could watch, even though you didn't know it, and making sure that everything that you do, even not knowing that they're watching, but they were watching, is something that they would be proud of and see, right? And so, you mentioned followers of Jesus, right? I mean, that's, at the end of the day, I think that if you just raise some little Jesus followers, then the rest of it takes care of itself, right? You got people that always talk about, I want to raise my kids to be good human beings, good for society and whatnot. And I look at it and it's pretty simple to me. I mean, little Jesus followers end up making smart choices and doing great things and being a great contribution to society. So, I mean, that's what it's all about. But for me, it's all about just being that leader that is, leads with love and discipline and, all those things that kids need.
Yeah.
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 How about you, Chad?
I didn't even think about the questions as they were.
But that's all right. But you get to go. But you get to go,
guys. I'm just taking in all the gold nuggets that you guys are spilling, and I'm not even thinking about myself.
But you got 2 little boys.
I got 2 little boys. I have a 6-year-old Landon and a 4-year-old Carter. And Landon is our little genius, and Carter is our little tank, and they couldn't be more opposite, but that's what keeps it fun. And they're finally getting to the place. I texted you a couple months ago, dude, how do you handle boys fighting all the time? But they're finally getting to that friendship place that I have been longing for them to get to.
It's just a phase.
It is just a phase, because they will still be fighting.
I swear to God, that's just a phase. I'm joining the Marines. But anyway, what being a father means to me, it is the biggest responsibility I'll ever have, even above being a good husband, which is a very close 1A.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that being a dad is the greatest responsibility that I will ever have, and the greatest job title I will ever have, and the biggest pleasure I will ever have. I love hanging out with my kids so dang much, and something that I am very much is I'm a very present dad. When I'm with them, and we're together, we're doing things, and no matter what it is. And I think that what you two said about making sure that they're followers in Christ is such a beautiful thing, because that really does cover every base. Mm-hmm. If they are deep followers of Jesus, then, well, they're followed said commandments, love thy neighbor as thyself. They're gonna be on the right path. So that's great. But I also want to make sure my boys are confident in themselves, are men, and are happy. If they are those 3 things and followers of Jesus, then no matter what life throws at them, if they're confident in themselves and their convictions, then whatever life throws at them, they can overcome. If they are happy, they can get over any downtrodden time. So, and I want them to know that their dad has their back.
Yeah.
No matter what.
No matter what. There is no choice they could make. Throw the gambit at me. Drugs, sex, whatever. There is nothing that could make me abandon them. So I have their back no matter what. And frankly, if they did pick a path that wasn't right, it's just as much my fault as theirs, if not more, honestly. So, yeah. Since I started with Chris with the last question, let's go over to GT. We're going to do a little bit of self-reflection here.
I hate getting put on the spot.
Hey, this whole thing is going to be put on the spot.
All right,
But I think everyone's going to love
ready.
it.
I have my alpha brain.
I didn't. What would you say is your greatest strength as a father?
Ooh, man.
Don't be too be confident in it.
You know what? I mean, I am, and I honestly, I think again, it's kind of repetitive, but it's leading by example. That is my biggest strength, because I love people, so I treat them good, and I treat people good. Whether we're out and I'm opening the door for some lady going into the store, or just me saying hi to somebody and using sir and ma'am just because I'm from the South and that's what I do. Being respectful to people. Me, I think I lead by example. I mean, my kids, they see how hard I work. They see how I treat their stepmom, Rachel. They see how our friend group and how close we are and how we all treat each other, and how I treat them, and how I communicate with them, and I mess up. It's not always Garrett's doing this great job, but I think overall I would say leading by example.
As I would hope you consider me a dear friend. I can absolutely agree with you.
Thank you.
You are a wonderful leader by example, and you're an example to me, so I can only imagine what you are an example to them getting to be around you all the time.
Thank you.
Mr. Royer?
My biggest thing, I think, goes back to what you said, is being present for your kids and being present with your kids. And I think my biggest strength that I bring to them is I prioritize my time to be around them. Time is our most valuable commodity. It's the only commodity we can never get back. Yep. And I've just noticed when Julian turned 10, it really was a wake-up call. Like, holy crap, that 10 years went so fast. And so I try to be around them and be with them as much as I possibly can. Like, I take him to every single soccer practice, every basketball practice, every jiu-jitsu lesson. Like, I love that they're doing jiu-jitsu. I am their taxi cab driver, and it's not a job for me. I enjoy every second of it. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's my biggest strength, is just I've been able to prioritize my time to be present with them. And then they can see that who I am by being present with them. So kind of tagging or piggybacking on both of what you guys just said.
Yeah, I always said to guys like us, we're very lucky that we picked the career paths we did.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, were you about to say that?
Yeah, go ahead, though.
Oh, I felt it. And I just wanted to beat you to it. No, but go. I mean, it's true. Like, I mean, because I have friends that literally travel for a living. One of my best friends, Mike, I mean, he was in the Navy, and most of his kids, when they were kids, I mean, he was gone on trips and stuff. So, I feel extremely blessed, even in the down years, just blessed to have chosen the career path that a lot of entrepreneurial people
I would change
make.
the word you said from lucky to, because I don't believe in luck. First of all, I think we create our own luck.
Right.
But I would say you chose that. You weren't lucky that you are in a career where you can do that.
Right.
You chose that career so you could have that time flexibility. Your kids aren't just lucky that you have that.
Right.
There are many realtors who have their own real estate team, many LOs that they chose that career path, but they're still choosing to let the career path dictate their life. Totally. Where they'll hold an open house over their kid's soccer game.
Yeah.
You couldn't
never.
It could be a $50 million house for LeBron James. Sorry, Mr. James. My son has a basketball game. I'm not missing it.
Yep.
I'll do it that afternoon, or I'll do it the next day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Genuinely, hand on the Bible, I will not let my career take away from the time I have with my kids, because I'm about to crush your guys' soul with something. This is something I saw on somebody else's podcast, but for the first 18 years of your kid's life, you have them for 18 years. The rest of their life, you have them for 1. So these 18 years that we get with our kids are huge. You get 18, and then typically, now of course there's some kids who boomerang back home after college or stay a little bit longer, but the typical is You get 18 years with your kids, and when they fly the nest, add up all the family events, add up all the vacations you take together, and that equates to one more year for the rest of their life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why did you have to throw that
because
out, man?
It is a gut check thing that
I am gonna smother my kids now. They're gonna be like, Dad, back off.
Because this time is so valuable that sometimes Kylie and I struggle with it, where it's like, God, we haven't had a date night, or we haven't been able to go on vacation. Just the two. True. But we haven't been able to go on a vacation without the kids in 2 years or a year. And as hard as those times, they don't last. You're gonna miss this. You're gonna miss the grind and the basketball games and the horse riding practice or the golf or whatever the thing is with your kids. Shoot, you're gonna miss beating on them to do their homework and put their laundry away. When it's quiet,
brush your teeth.
I've already grounded into my mind that I'm the hardest. Go to bed. Just go to bed. Carter, my 4-year-old, he will come down 4 or 5 times, and by the 4th or 5th time, mommy and daddy are just done with it. But he comes down and he's holding his stuffed animal, and he just wants to give you a hug, and it's like, all right, one day I'm gonna miss this. And so being a present father, I think the two things that you guys said merge together: being a present father and being a leader by example. If a dad could do those two things, he's killing it. So now we're going to have some real self-reflection. Just did what your greatest strength is. What do you think your greatest weakness is as a dad?
Oh.
Yeah. This was...
Man, greatest weakness probably almost ties into the same thing. Like, it's so easy to get distracted when you're with your kids too. Like,
he stole that out of my head.
Like, you want to be...
We're all similar guys, so a lot of these answers might be similar.
Yeah.
So if they are, it's fine.
Even if it's your goal to be present with your kids, like, you pick up your cell phone and 30 minutes later, you've been going through reels with your kid right next to you.
And you want to kick yourself in the head.
You're present, like, you're in the same room as your kid, but you're not present with your kid. Mm-hmm. And I catch myself having those moments a lot, especially on the car ride, on the way to jiu-jitsu. We're listening to some music or a podcast or something, and sometimes the kids are doing their own thing in the back, and then I'm doing my own thing in the front. And I need to take more advantage of those times, I think, to get on deeper level with the kids.
Yeah.
So I think that's my biggest weakness, is it ties right into what I would sometimes consider my greatest strength, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me it's the same. And when I do say lead by example, it is definitely one of those things that I catch myself all the time and get really upset with myself over. Kids will be talking to me or something, I'll get a text, and literally in mid conversation I'll look at my phone. And to me, that's not being focused on what they're saying. All of a sudden, that squirrel moment just took me away from them. And and honestly, it does. I shame myself for that. Like, I get disappointed in myself, and and you try to do better. But I would say 100%. If there is a weakness in my fathering game, it is the distraction.
This one is pretty hard for me, honestly, because it's something I'm not proud of. But I've caught myself at times allowing external factors affect how I'm treating my kids. Mm-hmm. And if I'm having a bad day with their mom, or if I'm having a bad day at work, or if a client just fired me, or which doesn't happen often, but if something happens outside, typically it takes a pretty darn big thing. But I've noticed lately that my fuse gets shorter. And with a 6 and 4-year-old, you have to have a fuse because they're crazy little monkeys. And I've caught myself consciously, specifically in the last 3 months, where there's been a couple of times where I'm like, dang, I snapped too quick. That wasn't that big of an issue. And I've pretty good self-reflection, and I can say that had nothing to do with Carter, throwing the thing at the thing or whatever the thing was. That had to do with the hard conversation I had to have earlier, the bad workout I had, or the flat tire I got, or the rock chip in my windshield, whatever that thing is.
Right.
It wasn't him doing that thing. Mm-hmm. So if I have a weakness, it's that. And I feel like it's a temporary weakness that I'm reflecting on and can rectify.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the biggest thing, right? When you have a weakness or you have an issue or whatnot that you know you need to work on is identifying that you have the issue, right? And so, for you, with that being said, since this is a discussion and I am the oldest of the group, I used to be the same way and still can find myself, if I'm really annoyed by something or whatnot, catch myself in that position still. But one of the things that helped me is always, especially if I'm away from the home and I know I'm coming home, I'll just repeat to myself several times, like, hey dude, they didn't put you there. So
don't bring them there.
Yeah, don't bring them there. They didn't put you there. And the same thing with your wife, right? Like a lot of times, they can say something or whatever, and it's not what you wanted to hear, and you've already got that. You're already a little upset about something, and you take it out on them as well. But I always have to just ask myself, like, if I find myself and I know I'm in kind of an off mood or something, whether it's them coming home from school or whether it's me coming home from whatever meeting it was or whatnot, I'm definitely at that point gonna do a little talking to myself. And
I love that little meditation mantra.
Yeah,
they didn't put you there, so don't bring them there.
Yeah, like, hey, you're in a bad spot right now. You know this.
That's powerful.
This has nothing to do with them, so don't take it out on them, right? So, yeah.
I have the exact same issue, Chad. I mean,
So I'm not alone in it?
No, not even close. Not even close. Kendra has had to keep me accountable because I'll bring stuff home that should not be there, and especially with Julian, I get a short fuse with him because he's my oldest. I've got high expectations for him, and I'll light him up over something so freaking tiny, and I can just see it crush him. And like those apologies have been hard, but so meaningful, and they've deepened our relationship, and very thankful for Kendra to call me out on that.
Yeah.
Because
Kylie's called me out on it before. I've called her out on it before.
My dad never did that. My dad would spank us or whatever, and then he would never address it later.
Yeah.
And like when I have that short temper, like I gotta apologize for that, because him spilling his cereal really wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But the timing of it,
having that conversation afterwards when we discipline our kids is massive.
Yeah.
Because if you just ground them or take the phone or whatever, or spank them, or whatever the punishment is, if they're during the moment they're so emotionally turned off, they're not going to take anything away from it. So having that deep conversation with them later, and if you went too hard, apologizing to your kids shouldn't happen often, but when it does, I think that sets such a good precedent for them in the 100%. Future. That even if they rise to the level of CEO, you still respect everybody and you treat them with respect. So that's really cool that you did that. So now we're gonna lighten the mood a little bit. Well, maybe not. If you could go, who did I start with? I think
is it me now?
Yep, you're up.
Okay.
I'm on the spot.
If you could go back to the day before your first child was born, what would you tell yourself, and what advice would you give yourself?
I would tell myself, try not to mess up too bad, but to give yourself some grace and do your best. Yeah.
Would you give yourself any advice at all? Like not even deep advice. You say,
advice like if I could go talk to myself.
You're talking to young Garrett, and you're in the waiting room with him while the baby's being born. What are you telling that man?
I think the big things would be just be more present, which we just talked about. And when I say present, I don't mean in the same vicinity. I mean like
emotionally, mentally there.
Yeah, there. And just probably I would say
change the diapers.
Yeah. No, I think that I would definitely, there would be a big piece about the presence, and then I would say to give yourself a little more grace, because I think sometimes for me personally, I took the job of being a good father and raising, good kids and everything so serious that maybe even I feel like I maybe took some of the fun out of it for myself and even for them. Mm-hmm. because I took it so serious.
Yeah.
Like it was such a serious job for me that I wish I could go back and just tell myself like, hey man, like, you know, they're going to be great. You're a good leader. Just have more fun with it. I think if I'd have had more fun with it, it would have been a little bit better. But yeah, I just took it way too serious. And I still do.
Yeah, that's a serious job.
Mine keeps going back to the time thing, like cherish every second. Even when there's things that are frustrating, like the kids want to lay with you for 20 minutes at the end of the night. Like sometimes you're just done. Like you want to go hang out with your wife, but one day they're not going to want you to lay with them in bed anymore. And you never know when that last night is going to be that they want to do that. Mm-hmm. That's something you'll never get back.
Right. Yeah, those moments they're special.
Sorry, I'm a crybaby with my kids.
Dude, hey, dude, you know what? That's real, man. And I'm gonna tell you something. That whole 1 year after
It was another podcast that I can't remember who said it, and he might be wrong, but when you think about it, that's probably right. Unless your kid boomerangs back home after college or goes to school from home, if they take the traditional route of 4-year education and off into the world, you got 18 years and then 1.
Yeah.
18 and then 1 for the
One.
next.
That's
for the rest
freaky.
Of your life. That's freaky.
That's freaky. And going back to, well, kind of what you were saying about the time and whatnot. You know, I heard this the other day. We were at, it was actually a Super Bowl party, my buddy Chad. And he was talking about how he feels like a lot of times as parents, we haven't, and I don't mean to get too off track. I just didn't want to forget this because he said this and I was like, holy crap, that's so good. You know, we sometimes need to let our kids know how unconditional our love is. So since his kids were very small, he would always, he's like, man, I'll go to Torrin and just be like, hey man, what you could do to make me love you more? And Torrin's like, nothing. He's like, you're right, man. There is nothing
That's awesome.
you can do to make me
awesome.
And with your boys young, I mean, when I heard that, I was like, dude, I want to do that now. He's like, you know, every now and again they're being bad or he's being bad or whatever. He'll go, hey, you know what you could do? You know what you could do to make me love you a little bit less? And he's like, nothing. And so he just always is constantly reminding his kids there is nothing on the planet that they can do or not do to make them love them more or love them less.
That is awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm going to start doing that with my boys.
Especially
Yeah.
because your
That
boys
is
are young, man. I mean, you start just pounding that in their head, then later in life when they start making mistakes, it's not like, you know, they just know you got them. Like you have their back no matter what.
Well, every single day, and my boys will make me do this if I send them off to school without saying it. But I give them a hug and I say, be great, make somebody else's day great.
Yeah.
Be a good boy, work really hard, and never forget how much mommy and daddy love you. Every single morning. If I try to send Carter to into preschool without doing that, he'll turn around and be like, Dad. And then I got to give him a hug and say the whole mantra. So
Nice.
but I really, really, really like that.
Yeah,
That's
just
super
that
cool.
reminder.
So
That's awesome.
for me, it curtails off of what both of you guys said, is being present, enjoying every moment. I'm not a huge crier by any stretch, and typically when I cry, it's out of happiness. And you can ask Kylie, the day after Landon was born, I was just sitting there. It was right after the hospital sent in the photographer to do like the day after pictures. And I started crying uncontrollably, just weeping. But there was happy tears, and it would not stop for like 20 minutes. It was the most wild thing ever. Kylie's like, what is going on? And I replied to her that I will never have this first day with my son again. The clock has already started. And I don't know how I was in that more, because that was a pretty profound thing to think.
Yeah.
That it's not that I will never not be a father again. I'm going to miss the old chat, whatever. It was, I will never have a day one. No matter what happens, day one is done.
Yeah. It's gone.
So you extrapolate that over the course of their life. So I would tell myself to do that. And then on a completely unrelated fatherhood note, but no matter where you're coming in as a father to the mother, what she just went through, not only just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to grow deliver, now in a lot of cases feed a child, and then 30% of women get postpartum. Be there more than you think you need to be for them, because I couldn't imagine the hormones and the pain, the anxiety that I have thinking about, oh crap, I'm going to be a dad. It's got to be amplified millions of times for women. So even if you're not with the woman, maybe the baby was the result of a one night stand thing that happens, that everybody whatever, but being there, if you're married, emphatically, but being there for the woman more than you think you need to be.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We're going through that right now. We're 3 months in, and man, it's a full-time job for her, emotionally and physically.
Yeah. GT, what do you want most for your kids?
Happiness or joy.
Joy.
Happiness is more of an emotion, right?
That's true.
So I just want joy. I want them to go through life, and I think that comes from just truly living grateful and being and living in gratitude. Mm-hmm. My kids all the time, and and I don't know if it's just my kids or if it's all kids. And any parents out there watching this, I know you're going to say it's all kids. I think they tend to focus too much on what they don't have than what they do have. Mm-hmm. And what somebody else has.
Of adults do that.
Yeah, and what somebody else has versus what they do have, and and honestly, that'll steal your joy, man. It really will. Your internal joy. And so, if there's anything that between now and their adulthood and through their whole life that I could just, try to just burn in their brain is, man, just be grateful for where you are, where, how God made you, where he has you, and what he's given you. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, if you can totally be grateful for those three things and think about that every single day, then you're going to have that joy. And that joy is, that's something that I don't think many people in our society have anymore.
That's
I think
fading. It's definitely fading.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I would say, having that mindset of abundance and gratitude, living their life with joy is huge. And I would add to that respect, which I know you would agree to as well. Like having little humans that have respect for other humans is huge.
Yeah. That's a hard thing to instill in some
yes, ma'am. Like in our society, it's almost like you can't say that anymore because there's this weird, like, I'm not a man. Or whatever. Your kids are almost scared to, or kids don't really care, but people are scared to say that stuff now. But I'm still teaching that to my kids, holding doors open for other people. Yep. Like that's huge. Yep. Our society, there's a comedian that says we're officially part of the worst generation of all time. And I'm trying to change that. Like millennials don't have a good reputation for being respectful and all of those things. So I'm trying to change that by teaching my kids to be an awesome generation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the biggest compliment as a parent, right, is when your kids go to somewhere else and all they do is brag about how great your kids are, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's like the best compliment on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is probably that one compliment that will light me up more than anything that I could possibly ever do myself or whatnot.
100%.
is when somebody says, "Hey man, I saw Bo the other day. Man, that kid's such an awesome kid." Just it lights you up, dude.
Yeah. Julian is welcome over here anytime. It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you guys are just firing gold nuggets. Everything that you guys are saying is I think what every father would want. I would also want my kids to have a really, really belief in themselves, really big belief in themselves, that whatever thing they want to set out to accomplish to do in this life, that they could do it. There's no limit. I'm not the type of dad who, if my son wrote, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up, okay, cool. How are we going to make that happen? You want to be an astronaut? Okay, got to go to the Air Force Academy. Yeah. Got to do this, that, and the other thing. Gotta love math. Gotta be fearless.
Yeah.
But you want to be an astronaut? I'm not going to tell you can't. Yeah. You want to be the freaking president? Okay. Yeah. If that's really what you want to do, we can figure out how to make it happen.
We'll try to talk them out of it, but
Amen. Amen. Thankfully, Landon's talks about being a doctor and being a pilot. And okay, those are both very, very attainable goals. How are we going to make it happen? Carter's still a little bit young to figure out what he wants to do in life, but outside of being a Power Ranger or a dragon rider. We'll figure out what Carter actually wants to do. So having a big belief in self, knowing that mommy and daddy have their back no matter what, and having joy. That one hit me between the eyes. Not happiness, because I said that earlier. That's one of the things I said earlier is having happiness, and happiness is a fleeting thing. You know, if you talk to a millionaire who buys their first Lamborghini, they're so happy in it. 20 years down the road, they've had 15 Lamborghinis. They don't care anymore.
Yeah, 20 minutes down the road, it's like the new wears off, and it's like, okay, what's the next thing?
Happy is a fleeting thing, but joy is a state of mind. So
yeah, it's an emotion.
I love that.
And,
I love it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Are there any books, podcasts, anything that you would recommend to a new dad, or a present dad?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I mean, you know, there's Raising Modern Day Knights. It's a great book for little boys. I got a copy if you want one.
I would love it.
You know, there's, I mean, one of the books that I think I've bought at least 150 to 200 copies and given out over the years is for any dad that has little girls. It's called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. Great book. Great. It's literally, I've always called it the Daddy-Daughter Bible. Mm-hmm. You know, it'll definitely scare the crap out of you a little bit and make you realize how important that relationship is. Yeah. I've read it twice, and I could easily read it again, quite honestly. You know, now that my girls are a little bit older.
You got a 3-month-old daughter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's a book for you to read in your sauna.
Yeah. There's Boys Should Be Boys. Another good book by the same author that wrote the Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters.
You sent that book to me.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great. It's a great book.
So we're currently reading Kids Adventure Bible. I think that's the number one book that every dad should read to their kids. And it goes through the Bible in kid language. So
it makes it fun.
It makes it fun. It tells all the stories in the Bible, and there's obviously number one book ever sold. So there's a lot of gold in there.
Harry Potter hasn't caught up to the Bible.
I would hope not.
No, not even close.
So yeah, we've been reading that for the last couple of years. Almost every single night we read a chapter, and then at the end of the chapter, it gives questions that the kids have to think about and answer, and there's self-reflection, and then there are also questions about the chapter to make sure they were listening.
Yeah.
And that's been huge. And then the other is Way of the Warrior Kid by Jocko Willink.
Yep.
Yeah, that book was a game changer for me and my kids. And
shout out Jocko. There's an empty seat in here if you ever want to come on our podcast.
Yep.
Come hang with us.
That would be a dream come true.
I'm not even going to talk about that one. We're just going to wait till we hang out with Jocko and let him talk about it.
That'll be the day. For me, it would be probably Raising Men, another book by a former Navy SEAL. It's really whatever path my kids decide to take is completely fine in this respect. But I do want to touch on our generation has blurred the lines so much between daughters and sons and what have you. And I want my boys to know that it's okay to be a man. It's okay to. It is okay to hold the doors for women. It is okay to be a white knight in today's society. It is okay to love things that men love. Love being around your tribe. It's okay to love. I mean, just down to it's okay to love working on a car engine and getting some dirt underneath your nail.
Yeah.
It is okay to be a man. I don't know what it's like to have a daughter. Mm-hmm. But if I did, I would let her know it's okay to be a princess.
It is.
Mm-hmm. It is just fine to be a princess.
Yes, it's okay to let somebody open the door for you.
Yes.
Or pay for a meal or whatever, right? I mean.
So Raising Men is really good in that respect. Again, I can't remember the author's name off the top of my head, but written by a Navy SEAL. That one was probably my favorite. And then Boys Be Boys is a really, really good one. It's kind of the same thing. The SEALs version's a little bit more in your face, and the other one's a little more fun about it. I'll leave it in the comments down below, but there's one other, How to Negotiate with Your Kids, which doesn't sound like something a parent wants to hear. You're not supposed to, it's supposed to be my way, do it. But being able to talk to them in their mental space really, really helped my communication, especially with Landon. because he is such a adult brain in a small body, and it sometimes he gets overwhelmed, and being able to talk to them without compromising who you are as the leader in the household. That one's a good one as well.
That one reminds me of a book, Love and Logic, and that one was huge for us when the kids were younger.
Great one. Love and Logic's huge.
Yep.
They've done whole seminars and
there's a whole
it's a
like
cult
following 100%
behind that.
Yep.
And Love and Logic is a spectacular book.
Yep.
I never even heard of it.
Oh, it's great, and it's Christian based, and Kylie actually really pushed me. We spent time every single night after the boys would go to bed, and we'd read. You know, she would honestly typically read it to me, and I would listen.
Nice. Yep.
And
Kendra was the same way.
Really, really. Man,
and she keeps
crazy.
me accountable for a lot of the concepts in there too with the boys.
Well, that's all I had for our first fatherhood.
This is good.
I love it.
Right? I thought this would be a little bit more fun instead of having the mastermind before and thinking things out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've run up to over 40 minutes, and we could really push this thing for like 2 hours. But in the interest of keeping all these first episodes about the same length, I think we call it.
Great job on the questions.
Thank you. Anything else you guys want to? Any final gold nuggets? Any final thoughts you want to throw out there?
No, man.
No. Just love them. Love them. Make sure that you equal the love with discipline, and just always put Jesus first, man.
And if you are a dad out there who is about to be, well, not quite a dad, if you're going to be a dad very soon, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
It is the biggest, hardest job ever, but trust your gut, love your kids. The rest of it will take care of itself.
Yeah, read and educate yourself.
Absolutely.
I was big on that. Like we talked about the books and stuff. I mean, but yeah, don't overthink it. I mean, you'll figure it out.
I would say enjoy the ride. That's the number one piece of advice from me for sure.
It is so much.
Don't take it so serious.
Don't take it so damn serious. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us for Burning the Ships. There's no turning back. This was awesome, guys. I love you both so much, and until next time.
Love you, man.
Cheers.